Lately, there's something that's been grinding my gears on both YouTube and some online courses. It's the people claiming how they make millions on Airbnb without any cash upfront. And personally, I don't know you, but me, when I see someone using the words millions and easy in the same sentence, I become very skeptical about that person. Most of the time, it's some kind of BS. However, when it comes to an Airbnb business, it doesn't have to be fake, but it's often deeply exaggerated. So if you've seen some of these videos, you know that these people are talking about a rental arbitrage business. So what is it? In a nutshell, you make money by renting other people's apartments or houses on Airbnb. Is it a great opportunity? Definitely yes. Can you make millions with it? Well, let's debunk it and investigate this part more in detail. The first thing that's important to understand here is that there's never a magic bullet to become rich. It always takes a huge amount of work and a lot of risk. However, a big difference can be made depending on how profitable is the opportunity you're working on. For example, it's easier to succeed in a new market where there is not a lot of competition yet. If you input the same amount of work inside such a new market, you will be exponentially more successful compared to if you put that same effort inside an already existing and highly competitive market. So I guess you see where I'm going with this. Airbnb arbitrage is a relatively new business simply because the market of vacation rentals is growing. And keep in mind that there's not just Airbnb in this game. There's also HomeAway, which is very powerful, and also Booking.com in Europe. So Airbnb is like the poster child of this trend, but it's obviously not the only player out there. But anyway, more and more people are ready to put their properties to rent for short-term stays, and more travelers are using this type of accommodation. So that's the new opportunity we're talking about. There is new money to be made here. So doing arbitrage in this market means you're going to see property owners, landlords, and you negotiate with them a contract. Basically, you commit to rent their units for a certain period of time and for a certain price. Let's say you guarantee a landlord a payment of $1,000 per month for the next 5 years. Then you furnish this unit so that it perfectly fits short-term travelers and you rent it out to them. How much money you make is up to you. It depends on your own renting performance. So you make that money, you deduct all the expenses, and you keep the profit in your company. Again, as a type of business, that's absolutely nothing new. This is typical real estate, except that there's a new type of demand that is growing, which is short-term rentals. But otherwise, renting a real estate unit for a long period of time while running a business inside this unit, that's as typical as it gets. It doesn't mean that that's not an interesting opportunity, but here's the catch. People who suggest that they are making millions with such a business are usually talking about their total gross revenue. And that is extremely misleading. You can have a business that turns over millions of dollars but doesn't make any profit. So it's at a loss. Of course, it doesn't have to be this way. You can obviously make a profit. But in my opinion, showing gross revenue is just an absolutely ridiculous kind of clickbait. Especially that when it comes to Airbnb arbitrage, it becomes so easy to show off huge numbers because of course you make a lot of money, but the biggest chunk of that money gets paid back to the property owner. So let's consider that you sign up 10 apartments for $1,000 per month each, but you actually make $2,000 from each apartment per month with short-term rentals. So 2,000 times 10 is 20,000 and times 12 is $240,000 per year. So these Airbnb arbitrage YouTubers, they will basically show you their bank account and say, hey, look at this. I made $20,000 this month with my arbitrage business, which of course is bullshit. First of all, they pay the $1,000 rent to the landlords, which is $10,000 per month and $120,000 per year. So now they're down to $120,000 for their company already. But from here, they have to deduct all the running expenses, just like with any business. And there are quite a lot of them. For example, the cleaning. When it comes to short-term rentals, cleaning is very often the biggest expense. I don't have any ballpark figure here because it depends on too many things, but it's definitely in the tens of thousands of dollars of cleaning. Then there's the cost of inventory items used by the guests, insurances, software, unpredicted expenses, taxes, and many more. And once you reach a certain number of apartments to manage, well, you can't do it alone anymore because it's too much work. So you start to hire people, and then their salaries become huge costs as well. So what does this say? Nothing crazy, just that yes, it's a decent business, you can make money with it, it's a new opportunity because there is little competition for now, but otherwise it's a typical, very normal kind of real estate business. The money that you make can be interesting if you're good enough, but it doesn't mean that it will make you a millionaire. And that's where I have a problem with certain people on the internet, is that they exaggerate their numbers. They don't go into details of their business expenses, and they pretend that all the millions that their companies are turning over are theirs. So be very careful and always dig deeper to find out the real numbers. Here's the thing. I know a guy from Chicago. His company has a gross revenue of about $3 million and they operate 80 apartments. 80. That's a lot of apartments to manage. That's about $40,000 of gross revenue per apartment per year, which is about $3,000 per month per apartment. And this is a very typical amount here. Now, I obviously don't know how much he pays to the landlords, and it depends on each individual negotiation. For some apartments, he will make a big margin, for others less. But he also employs a lot of people, about 10, including cleaners, maintenance workers, a property manager, virtual assistants, etc. Now, he may or may not keep a good profit for the company after all the expenses, but in any case, this profit will become lower and lower for the companies in this area for the most basic reason: competition. Again, it's a relatively new market, but as many people noticed and poured into it, the competition started to grow. And as the competition grows, the landlords will know that they can charge more expensive rent because more companies will be interested to rent their properties, so the margins will narrow. Keep in mind that there's literally nothing exceptional in what I'm saying here. That's just how regular business works. So to recap, is short-term rental arbitrage a good business? Probably yes, but it was even better before, when it was barely starting. You could negotiate low rents with landlords, but now there's more and more competition, so it becomes more and more complicated to find bargain leases. However, there are two huge risks associated with this business. First of all, in order to convince the landlord and negotiate the best rent, you need to commit to rather long leases, at least 2 years, but it can go up to 5 or even more. And if you screwed up your calculations, or if there's more competition and nightly rates drop, or if the regulation changes, you will still have to pay that rent to the landlord for the next 5 years no matter what, unless you somehow protected yourself in the contract. That's where you can be at a loss or even go bankrupt if you can't cover all these expenses with short-term rentals. Another huge risk is being dependent on Airbnb itself. There's a story of a guy who did this kind of business with about 40 apartments in Florida. Then he had a problem with a guest. This happens a lot, but he didn't manage it in a good way. Somehow it got out in the media. Airbnb noticed, got scared of it, and deleted this guy's account. It might have even been a fake accusation by a guest, but Airbnb takes very radical steps in these situations and usually suspends or deletes the host account. So basically, he signed leases for 40 apartments that were renting perfectly well through Airbnb, and from one day to the other, his account got blocked and all future bookings cancelled, while he was committed to several years of rent to his landlords. I mean, that was instant bankruptcy. All his business, all his cash flow stopped right at that moment. So the smart way to proceed is, of course, to not rely on any one platform, but even then, there are not that many players out there. In my case, I do it differently. I prefer to own all my units. I want to have my own little real estate empire, and I don't want to be a rental agency. So I manage 12 units like this, but since they are mine, the risks are mitigated because I can sell them, I can put them on long-term rent, I can let another, rental arbitrage company manage them. Basically, I have a lot of options. This is something I will explore in another video, the difference between having a purely rental arbitrage business or buying your properties with a mortgage and renting them out. What's better, being an operator or an owner? But whether you do one or the other, you must be an efficient host in any case. Again, as the margins are going down because of more and more competition, you need to optimize your business, automate as many tasks as possible, cut costs to the minimum. And that's where I came up with a lot of insane techniques to automate so many aspects of this business. When I said I manage 12 units, I do it all by myself. I have no assistant and I don't need one. And this is not even my main job. I have a very different business, so real estate, investing and rentals is a side hustle for me. I'm even doing it on distance. Sometimes I live in a totally different place for months and my short-term rental business keeps going almost on autopilot. You might wonder how is this possible, but that's the thing. As I never wanted this to be my main business, I did everything in my power to automate it. I analyzed every manual task that I was doing and I found a solution to automate it. I analyzed every annoying situation that ever occurred and I found solutions to prevent it from happening again, and so on. Most of these solutions rely on two things: technology and communication. You have no idea how much time you can save by optimizing and automating stuff. So I created a course where I reveal all these techniques at every step of your rental business, whether you're an owner or an operator, it doesn't matter. The link to this course is in the description below, and I suggest you take a look at it and see for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel to be notified about all the next ones. And don't forget to check all my other videos on this channel on many topics related to your real estate business. See you soon.